What a relief.
A man stands accused of attacking a teenage boy with a spade and causing him grievous bodily harm. He claims he had no other course of action, driven to it by living next to a family of neighbors from hell. These 12 members of the public have been chosen at random to be the jury in this heated case. They and you must decide the verdict.
You'd been made a laughingstock and you couldn't take it.
But it was my garden and they were just doing what they liked.
He's a madman. He wants looking up. He wants putting away.
I was very sorry for what happened to him.
He was pushed from behind.
I wasn't going to hit him. He hit me.
In self-defense.
Ladies and gentlemen, here we have a clear-cut case, which counsel for the defense will attempt to make appear more complicated than it is. So be aware, the facts are simple and straightforward. The defendant, aged 32, viciously attacked a boy, aged 14. This occurred during the closing stages of an argument in which the boy, Joseph Backhouse, had taken no part. Indeed, he was not even present at the scene until the very end of the disturbance. It is the prosecution's contention that the defendant's actions, the explosive culmination of a simmering rage, were unlawful and were intended to cause severe physical damage. I call Joseph Backhouse to give evidence.
He hit me with a spade.
There's no need to be nervous, Joseph. We'll take one thing at a time. Who hit you?
Jim Lowman. He hit me over the head, fractured my skull, cut me and bruised my arm.
And where did this take place?
In his back garden.
At number 29 Briardale Way.
Yeah.
At the time of the incident, Mr. Lowman lived at number 29. You and your family were next door at number 31.
Yeah.
Would you tell the court what happened on the 21st of July, 1997?
My mates called round for me. I wasn't ready, so they waited in the garden.
What did they do while they waited?
They rode the bikes. Adam Swift rode mine.
Adam Swift is a friend of yours?
Yeah, I know him from school. He's in the year above me.
Did you give him permission to ride your bike?
Yeah, I told him to be careful with it.
Who, when Adam was riding your bike?
I was upstairs getting dressed.
But you came downstairs when you heard a noise?
Yeah, there was all this screaming and shouting. I could tell Jim and Maria was having a row.
You're referring to James Lowman and his wife, Maria?
Yeah, I could hear them slagging Owlet off. And then there was a noise like hitting something. I didn't want anything to happen to my bike, so I came down.
And you went into the Lowman's back garden?
Yeah.
And what did you see?
Jim Lowman was smashing up my bike with a spade.
What type of spade?
A big garden spade, the sort you dig up dirt with.
And where was the bike?
Laying on the ground.
So what did you do?
I yelled at Jim, told him to leave my bike alone.
Did he leave it alone?
No, he just carried on hitting it. He was bashing up the wheels.
What did you do then?
I ran over and pushed him out of the way.
Did you hit him?
No. I kind of shoved him.
Did you shove him violently?
No.
Did he fall down?
No.
Did you at any point say you were going to hit him?
No, just said, get off my bike.
Did you attack him with any sort of implement?
No, he attacked me. He hit me with a spade.
Now, Joseph, take your time. Tell the court exactly how that came about.
I ran over, picked up my bike. I was going to take it into our garden, and then he hit me. He just hit me.
Why did you pick the bike up? Why didn't you just wheel it away?
Because Jim had smashed up the spokes on the back wheel.
So you couldn't ride it?
No.
Now, will you describe the manner in which you lifted the bike up?
Well, I got hold of the part below the handlebars with one hand and the back of the seat with the other.
And you lifted it off the ground?
Yeah. Then he hit me.
Did he say anything when he hit you?
Yeah. He was screaming and shouting all over the place. He belted the spade into the side of the shed, and then he turned on me. His face had gone all ugly. He was howling like a madman. I was scared of him.
What was he howling?
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
July the 21st last year was a special day, was it not? The first day of the summer holidays.
Yeah, that's why Swifty and the others came round.
Swifty, would this be Adam Swift?
Yeah, that's right.
It is important to get the details clear, Joseph.
Yeah.
Wasn't it also the day after your 14th birthday?
Yeah.
Do you remember what presents you received for your birthday?
Yeah, I got trainers and a trackie.
A track suit.
Yeah. And the bike.
Was it a brand new bike or was it second hand?
Yeah, it was brand new.
And the trainers and the tracksuit, they were brand new too.
Yeah.
Why did you allow Adam Swift to ride your brand new bike?
Because he asked me.
Where did you suppose he was going to ride your brand new bike?
Well, in the street.
Was this bike exactly what you wanted for your birthday?
Yeah, it had bar ends, 21 speed gears, thumb shift, bottle and cage. It were great.
Had you had a bike before?
Yeah, I've always had a bike.
What was so special about this one?
I told you, it had bar ends, 21 gears, and it was my first brand new one. The others, all my brothers, have passed on to me.
Would it be true to say that this bike was your pride and joy?
Yeah, it was, till Jim smashed it up.
The bike was your pride and joy.
Yeah.
How many boys called for you on that day?
It's 6.
Did you know they were coming?
Yeah.
Oh, so you were expecting them?
Yeah.
Well, why were you still in bed when they arrived?
I was up late the night before. I overslept.
Were you up late for any particular reason?
No.
Well, it had been your birthday. Did you have a party?
No.
But there was music playing, wasn't there, until the early hours of the morning?
Yeah, but it wasn't a party.
What was it then?
We was just playing music.
Loudly.
Just normal.
How many people were present?
Our lot and a couple of my brother's mates.
How many of your brother's mates?
About 4 or 5.
And did they bring their girlfriends too?
A couple did.
So there was your whole family and 4 or 5 of your brother's mates and a couple of girlfriends.
Mr. Murray?
My lord, it's very interesting, this roll call of the Backhouse family and their friends, but since most of them weren't present at the time the offence was committed, I wonder what purpose it served.
Mr. Davis?
I'm establishing the recent background to the events, my lord.
You may continue.
Joseph, you have 8 brothers and sisters and a mother and father. That makes 11 people, plus, say, 4 of your brother's mates and 2 girlfriends. That makes a total of 16 people at least, all eating, drinking, shouting, screaming, and listening to very loud music being played until 3:30 on a Monday morning in a residential area.
It wasn't very loud, and some of our kids were in bed. They're only little.
We'll move on to what happened when you saw James Lohman standing by your bike. Now, was he standing in front of the bike as you looked at it, or was he on the other side?
It was in between me and the bike.
So when you went to pick up the bike, he was in the way?
Yeah.
He had his back to you?
Yeah.
Now, you said you shoved him out of the way.
Yeah.
But he was an angry man wielding a heavy implement. And you just shoved him out of the way?
Yeah.
You didn't use any force, you didn't grab him, you didn't push him violently to one side.
No.
But he's a grown man, and you say that he was in a rage. He was using a garden spade to smash your bike, and you simply shoved him, and he moved?
Yeah.
Did he move to the right or to the left?
To the right.
Are you right-handed or left-handed?
Right-handed.
Ah, so you throw with your right hand, you catch with your right hand, you'd carry a suitcase with your right hand. There is more strength in your right hand and your right arm than your left. Do you agree?
I don't know.
When you picked your bike up, did you do it slowly and carefully, or did you do it as fast as you can?
As fast as I could have wanted to get out of the way.
Did you pick it evenly off the ground?
I don't know.
Or did you naturally lift the back part of the bike higher than the front part because you have more strength in your right arm?
I don't know.
You said you wanted to take the bike into your own garden.
Yeah.
Now, to do that, you had to turn around.
Yeah.
Lohman moved to one side, and you turned to face him.
No, I turned to go into our garden.
And in doing so, you were face on to James Lohman. Now, you were angry, you were shouting, you'd run across, you'd pushed Lohman, you'd grabbed your bike and lifted it up. Now, the only thing on your mind was to get that bike back into your garden.
Yeah.
But you'd come from behind, he hadn't seen you. You'd shouted at him, and he'd taken no notice. Presumably, he didn't hear you, because other people were shouting at the same time.
I shouted loud.
He was pushed from behind. He saw you lift the bike in an aggressive manner and turn to face him.
I wasn't going to hit him.
He thought you were going to throw the bike at him.
I wasn't going to.
Do you accept that he thought you were going to throw the bike at him?
I wasn't going to.
Do you understand that you looked as if you were about to throw your bike?
I wasn't going to hit him. I wasn't going to hit him. He hit me.
In self-defense.
I wasn't going to hit him.
I have no further questions, my lord.
Yeah, my name's Adam Swift. And I'm to tell you that Jim Lohman smashed Joe Backhouse's skull in for nothing. He's well out of order.
Yes, thank you, Adam, but I have to remind you that the court cannot accept your opinions. You must answer only the questions I ask you. Do you understand?
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
Good. Now, on the morning of the 21st of July, there was a disturbance in the Lohman's back garden. Who was involved in it?
Me, my mates, Jim Lohman, his missus, and some of the Backhouse kids, and Joe Backhouse's mum.
Was Joe Backhouse involved?
Nah, he was in the bog.
Who caused the disturbance?
Me?
Describe what you did.
I was trying Joe's new bike out in Jim Lohman's garden. Lohman started shouting at me, so me and my mate shouted back. Then we all rode up and down the two gardens. Lohman was yelling his head off. His wife was screeching at him. He told me to get off the bike.
Will you slow down, please? The jury needs to understand precisely what you're saying.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, Lohman told me to get off the bike. I said, make me. He hit the bike with the garden spade. I fell off. He started trashing the bike. Joe came running out, picked the bike up, and Lohman smashed him over the head. And that's all.
Did Joe Backhouse ride the bike at any time?
No, he was in the bog.
Did Joe Backhouse have any kind of an argument with James Lohman?
No, he wasn't there. He was in the bog.
So it was you who caused the disturbance, it was you who caused the argument, you and your boisterous friends?
Yeah, me and my mates. Well, mainly me.
Thank you.
No problem.
No further questions, Mark.
Mr. Davis?
At this point, my lord, I'd like to draw the court's attention to the diagram depicting numbers 29 and 31 Brydale Way. The jury has copies of it.
Would you like a copy to be given to the witness?
If my lord pleases. Now, Adam, would you please look at the diagram?
I am looking at it.
And do you agree that according to the diagram, numbers 29 and 31 Brydale Way form a pair of semi-detached houses?
Yeah.
And that number 29, which used to be the home of the Lohman family, is situated on the corner of Briardale Way and Ushley Close.
Yeah.
Is it true that the gate in the side fence of the back garden of number 29 leads directly into Ushley Close?
Yeah, so what?
Now, on the diagram, the back gardens of 29 and 31 are separated from each other by a 1-metre-high wooden fence, are they not?
Yeah.
Adam, do you understand the diagram?
I'm not soft.
Why were you able to ride the bike in next door's garden?
The fence was down.
Ah, the 1-metre-high shared fence.
Yeah, it wasn't there anymore.
So you took it upon yourself to make use of the Lohman's back garden?
Yeah, it was a mess anyway.
Was the gate into Ushley Close open or closed at this time?
Closed until I opened it.
Why did you open it?
So we could ride down Ushley Close and back into the garden.
Back into the back house's garden?
Yeah.
And then into the Lohman's garden? Would the jury please follow this on the diagram? Down Ushley Close, around the corner, into Brydale Way, into the back house's front garden, side garden, back garden, the Lohman's back garden, through the gate, down Ushley Close, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah.
You were doing circuits.
Yeah?
You and 5 other teenage boys on bikes.
Yeah, it was a laugh.
Did James Lohman consider it a laugh?
He got a bit knocked.
And he remonstrated with you?
He said all kinds. Told us to get out.
To try and make you leave his property?
It's not his property, it's the council's.
James Lohman was irate because you and your teenage gang wouldn't leave the premises that he rents from Barlton Council.
They rent the house. We weren't in the house.
He rents the house and the garden. You were in the garden.
Yeah, we're having a laugh.
By your standards.
Yeah.
I have no further questions, my lord.
You may step down. Mr. Murray, have you any other witnesses?
One other witness, my lord. I call Mrs. Camille Backhouse.
I put my head outside my own back door and he was in my face, getting abuse.
What about?
The fence, the noise, the kids. Same things he was always on about.
What did he say on this occasion?
He wanted to know where the fence was.
And what did you say?
I said, I don't know, I'm not bothered about the fence. If you want a fence, build a fence, I'm not stopping you.
And Lohman said?
He said it was no use because my kids would knock you back down again.
What was your attitude to that?
Didn't have an attitude. The garden's for the kids, not me. I don't play in it.
Did that satisfy Lohman?
Nothing would satisfy him.
So what did you do?
What I'd gone out there to do? I unlocked the shed so Swifty could get our Joe's new bike out. And Jim Lohman was on my back the whole time, ranting and raving. Swifty told him to shut it.
Adam Swift came to your defence.
Yeah. Then Maria came out. Started going on about the noise, the kids, just like him. The so-and-so fence. I told her to get lost.
Do you remember your exact words?
No, I don't.
Are you certain?
I haven't a clue.
What was your reaction when Adam Swift and the other boys started riding their bikes through the gardens?
I wasn't bothered.
You weren't annoyed in any way?
No. He was, though. I said to him, they're only kids. Let them play, let them have their fun. He don't believe in fun.
Did you and James Lohman continue arguing?
No, couldn't be bothered. Sat on step and had a smoke. Watched the kids playing. Listened to Maria screeching at him.
What was Lohman's manner at this time?
He was off his head, waving his arms around, screeching and shouting at Maria.
Describe what was happening when your son, Joseph, eventually came into the garden.
He lost it by then. That Swifty's got a right map on him and Jim couldn't take it. He told him to get off the bike and Swifty said, "Make me." So Jim picked up a spade and hit the bike. Swifty fell off. And then he started banging the spade down the back wheel. That's what he was doing when our Joe came out.
Was anyone attacking him?
No.
Neither you, nor Adam, nor any of the boys, nor any of your children?
No. Adam couldn't anywhere do his leg. He was sitting on grass moaning.
Will you describe exactly what Joseph did when he came out?
He ran over, pushed Jim to one side and picked up his bike. That was all he did. That was all he was interested in, his bike. And Jim hit him over the head with a spade. Gave him a hell of a smack. I thought he'd killed him. He's a madman. He wants looking up. He wants putting away.
I have no further questions.
Mr. Davis, do you intend to cross-examine?
Yes, my lord.
Do you envisage a short cross-examination?
No, my lord, I don't.
Well, in that case, we'll adjourn for lunch. Court will reconvene 2 o'clock.
All stand.
Mrs. Backhouse, are you proud of your family?
Yeah.
Has Joseph ever given you any cause for concern? For example, has he been in trouble at school?
No, he hasn't.
Has he been in trouble with the police?
No, he's a good kid.
I agree with you. My learned friend has produced records that can only be described as exemplary,
Yeah, like I said, he's a good kid.
unlike the rest of your children.
There's nothing wrong with my kids.
You have a daughter aged 20, do you not?
Yeah, I do, Joanne.
A son aged 18.
Ricky.
Twin sons aged 17.
David and Nathan.
Thank you, I'm most obliged. And a son aged 16.
Yeah, Robert, so what?
And they've all been in trouble with the police.
Joe hasn't.
Theft, drugs, assault, shoplifting.
Not our Joe.
You also have a daughter of 12, a son of 10, all of whom have been reported to the police at some stage.
Look, my kids aren't on trial here. Jim Lohman's the man in the dock. He's the one accused of grievous bodily harm, not my kids.
Mrs. Backhouse, you will answer only the questions asked.
But he's making out my kids are rubbish and they're not. Our Joe's never done a thing wrong in his life.
Mrs. Backhouse, I must insist that you confine your remarks to answering the defense counsel's questions.
But go on then, ask me a question.
With pleasure. Is it not true that all the children I mentioned, with the exception of Joseph, have school records showing truancy and or long-term non-attendance?
What if it is? School's a waste of time. Teaches you now what you need to know. My kids are just as good as anybody else's. But as soon as there's trouble in street or in school, my kids get the blame.
Is yours a happy home?
Yeah.
Is that why all your children still live there? The older ones haven't moved away.
Why should they?
Well, they might move away to find jobs.
Well, they haven't.
I know they haven't. Of your 5 children who've left school, none has had a job, none has ever had a job.
There aren't any jobs about.
And your husband's unemployed, isn't he?
Yeah, he can't find work.
Sadly, he can't. He's one of the long-term unemployed. It must be very difficult bringing up a family in such circumstances.
We do our best.
I'm sure you do. But Social Security benefits are not over-generous. Is it hard to make ends meet?
Yeah.
And yet you can afford a brand new bike for Joseph's birthday, the list price of which, correct me if I'm wrong, was £199 and 99 pence, and new trainers and a new tracksuit.
I know how to run a home. I'm a good manager.
Excellent. Miraculous. You've got 9 children, you're in income support, you're on rent relief. No member of your family has ever had a job, not so much as a paper round, and yet you spend how much? £300 on birthday presents for one son?
My lord, the court is not concerned with how Mrs. Backhouse manages her finances.
Well, that bloke is. Are you saying my kids shouldn't have good things?
No, I'm not, Mrs. Backhouse. I'm just giving the court an idea of what life is like for you and your family.
Life is great. I'll look after them, and they'll look after me.
So you'd say, would you not, that you were loyal to your children?
Yeah, I stick up for my kids. I always know what they're doing. I make sure they get enough with everything.
You make it your business to provide for them.
I get what I'm entitled to, and I'm entitled to income support.
And you spend that money wisely?
I do what I like with it. Look, no one tells you what to do but you, and so don't tell me, all right?
Mrs. Backhouse, I have no intention of telling you how to spend the money you've collected so regularly and so efficiently over the years off the state.
Make all the wisecracks you like. It won't change a thing. Because you know as well as I do that Jim Loman smashed our Joe's head up with a garden spade. If you've got any doubts, look at the x-rays.
The question is not whether he did it. Why?
Because he's always had it in for us. We've had no peace since we moved to that house. We've been pointed at and picked on. It's been a misery living there.
Did you have good relations with the neighbours in your previous street?
Yeah, they weren't so stuck up.
Well, what about the residents of the various other towns you've lived in?
They weren't either.
Oh, you mean they don't mind being terrorised by loud, aggressive and unruly children day and night?
All we want to do is live our life in our own way.
Oh, you do? Unfortunately, your neighbours have to put up with it.
That doesn't mean he can do what he likes. He nearly took our Joe's eye up and you couldn't see his face for all the blood. I know that Jim Loman bloody nearly killed our Joe. No matter what tricks you've got up your sleeve, he's going to pay for it.
Order! Order!
I moved to Brydale Way with my parents and my younger brothers in 1958 when the houses were first built. It were a lovely road. Everyone was very friendly.
Nevertheless, 2 years ago, you put your house on the market, did you not?
Yes. My father bought the property from the council when Mrs. Thatcher were in power. He thought it would be security for me, since I never married. I intended to spend the rest of my days there.
Mr. Murray?
My lord, is the family history of Miss Sayers relevant to the charge of grievous bodily harm against James Luman?
I'm inclined to think it may be, Mr. Murray.
As my lord pleases.
You intended to stay in Brydale Way for the rest of your life. What made you change your mind?
The back houses. I can't stand them.
Would you explain?
I live directly opposite. I'm an unmarried woman of 62. My parents are both dead now. I nursed them through their final illnesses. I enjoy gardening, going to church and listening to Gilbert and Sullivan. I'm hardly the height of fashion. Doubt if I ever was. I make few demands. I have a small circle of friends and a smaller one of relatives, but I live alone, and that makes me an easy target.
A target for what?
For all the abuse the back houses can think to throw at me.
Would you be more specific?
Yes. They pull up the plants in my garden. They sit on my garden wall at all hours of the day and night with gangs of their friends and screech abuse at me until I react in some way by, for instance, closing my curtains. Then they cheer and howl with delight.
You lying cow!
Mum, shh. I've already made my position clear. I will not have court procedure interrupted. One more disturbance and I'll clear the public gallery. Mr. Davis, would you like to continue?
Thank you, my lord. Miss Sayers, you were describing the back house's antics.
Yes. In the winter, they throw snowballs at me windows. In the summer, it's curry and chips and anything else the local takeaways sell. I've seen the boys, all of them except Joe, urinate in the street. The two little children come in my front garden to defecate. They do it on the path and on the steps leading up to my front door. When I remonstrate with them, they look at me as if I'm the person from another planet.
Have you felt frightened?
Oh, many a time. Particularly when the gangs come. They take over the street. I don't go outside the house. If I venture outside my front door, I am followed, jostled, spat at.
Miss Sayers, will you describe the domestic conditions you are now living in?
I hardly move outside the house anymore. My brother wants me to go and live with his family. The only reason I don't is I'm afraid the house will be overrun. I've given the small things, you know, family photographs and trinkets and such like, to my brother and his wife for safekeeping. But there are a few items of furniture, of sentimental, not financial value, which I would hate to see anyone break in and steal. On bad days, I wonder I don't just give them to the back houses. We could have a bonfire in the street, let the whole lot burn.
Thank you, Miss Sayers. I have no further questions, my lord.
Mr. Murray?
Lord. Miss Sayers, you're a very precise person, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
You say what you mean.
I do.
If there's something to complain about, you complain.
Yes.
You're noted for it, aren't you?
Am I?
Oh, you write to newspapers, you telephone the council, you inform the police. You've done each of these many times, haven't you?
I've done them when they've been necessary.
Have all of your complaints been about the Backhouse family?
No, they haven't.
Have you ever complained to the council or the police about the Lomans?
Yes, I have. Once.
And this was something to do with a car James Loman owned?
Yes. He'd bought 2 old cars, wrecks really, and he parked one of them outside my house. I asked him to move it, but he didn't. It was there for several days.
You reported him to the police because he parked outside your house?
I reported him to the police because when I asked him to move it again, he became belligerent.
In other words, he lost his temper?
Yes. But it was out of character.
You mean you didn't end up with a spade in your head?
I mean it was out of character.
Miss Sayers, if you had nothing in the world to complain about, would your life be worth living?
I consider that a very stupid question, but I have to answer it. The answer is yes.
Well, loneliness can be a terrible thing, a bitter cross to bear.
I know. I only wish I were allowed to bear it in peace and quiet.
Now, you've said that all the Backhouse boys urinate in the street except Joseph.
Yes, that is what I said. Joe's different. He's a decent lad, has a nice smile, he always says hello.
Have you ever seen Joe Backhouse physically attack another person?
No. I don't like his family or his friends, but I like him. He's never done me any harm.
Miss Sayers, I wonder if you exaggerate the nature of the Backhouse family.
I don't.
I only ask because if they're so violent and thuggish, surely a woman like you, a spinster of quiet tastes living alone, would simply be too scared to continue staying opposite them.
They don't own their property. They can move to another estate. I'm trapped. In any case, I don't suppose they'd actually break into the house and murder me. And that is the only way in which it could get worse.
My name is Jane McHugh. I work as a housing officer for Bolton Council.
Mrs. McHugh, would you please tell the court of your involvement with Mr. and Mrs. James Loman?
Between May 1995 and July 1997, Lomans approached the council on several occasions asking to be rehoused. They were having difficulties with their next-door neighbours. In February 1996, they were offered a place on the Eastington estate.
And did they accept this offer?
No, it was too far away from the children's school and from Mrs. Loman's workplace. Eventually, 2 more offers were made. They went to see them and rejected them.
And these were both high-rise properties, were they not?
Yes, on this occasion, high-rise was all we had to offer.
But the Lomans were eventually offered another house.
Yes, in Bridale Way.
But they were already living in Bridale Way.
Well, yes, but this was at the far end, the last house, number 51.
Did they accept this house?
They refused it outright.
Were they offered anything else?
No. They already had 4 children. Mrs. Loman was pregnant with the 5th, so they wanted a 4-bedroomed house like the one they already lived in. These are in very limited supply, none was available.
What was Mr. and Mrs. Loman's attitude during this period?
Well, he was very upset, angry, anxious.
Would you tell the court on how many occasions the council has rehoused the Backhouse family?
The back houses were rehoused 3 times by the council.
And were they moved because they asked for bigger and better accommodation?
They were moved because of complaints from the neighbours about their lifestyle.
Thank you, Mrs. McHugh. I have no further questions, my lord.
Mr. Murray, you going to cross-examine?
Yes, my lord.
It's now 4 o'clock. Will it take long?
No, my lord. I have very few questions for this witness.
In that case, you may continue.
I'm obliged, my lord. Mrs. McHugh, you've just testified that Mr. and Mrs. Loman were worried and upset when they made application to be rehoused by the council.
Yes, that's right.
On Wednesday, the 16th of July, 1997, James Loman visited your office, did he not?
Yes, he did.
Describe what happened, please.
Well, he was very angry. He was asked to leave the building.
Would you say that he was aggressive on that occasion?
Yes, he was on that occasion.
Did he leave immediately when asked by you to do so?
No, he had to call security.
Thank you, Mrs. McHugh.
Any further questions, Mr. Davis?
One further question, my lord. Mrs. McHugh, is it not true that James Loman was angry on the 16th of July because that was the very morning on which he'd received from Bolton Council the offer to be rehoused at number 51 Bridale Way, a house a mere 10 doors away from the neighbours who'd made his life hell?
Yes, that's why he was angry. We had nothing else to offer him. We'd done all we could.
Police Constable Rawlinson, you've been called to Bridale Way on a number of occasions in 1995, 1996, and 1997.
That's correct.
Were these visits to deal with disturbances involving the Backhouse family?
The disturbances involved the residents of Bridale Way and various youths.
And what was the usual nature of the disturbances?
Most concerned noise nuisance and minor vandalism.
And were you able to deal effectively with these complaints?
Our role as one of community police, and our aim is to calm the situation.
Did you succeed?
We dispersed gangs. We reassured residents.
Do you recall an incident in Bridale Way on the evening of Friday, the 18th of July, 1997?
Yes, we responded to calls from local residents about the presence of a large number of youths.
Now, these youths had congregated in the road in front of the Lohman and Backhouse residences, numbers 29 and 31.
That's correct.
Now, the exact nature of the disturbance need not detain us. But it is true, is it not, that you questioned various people at the scene?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did you take the names of some of the residents of Bridale Way?
Yes, I did.
Do you recall an incident in which a youth threw a bag of chips which landed at your feet?
I do.
Did you ask the youth his name?
Yes, I did.
And what was his reply?
Mickey Mouse.
What address did he give?
Disneyland.
Did you ask a second youth his name?
Yes, sir, I did.
And his reply?
Donald Duck.
How did the other two identify themselves?
May I, my lord? As Noddy and Big Ears. These were names called out from the crowd. I suppose it was harmless banter.
And who else was present in the crowd, according to the harmless banter?
Bart Simpson, Homer Simpson, Beavis and Butthead.
Quite a gathering.
It was good-natured at this stage.
And is that why you took no further action?
Yes, the disturbance broke up and the youths dispersed.
Back to Toyland or Disneyland or Wonderland?
Sir, the residents had asked for police assistance to end the disturbance and disperse gangs, and this was provided.
The residents had asked for police protection from marauding youths who'd made their lives hell. This was not provided. I have no further questions, my lord.
Mr. Murray?
No questions, my lord.
Mr. Lohman, can you describe what life was like living near the back houses?
The beat thumps through the wall. You can't sleep. The kids would wake up. I used to think my head was going to burst. And Maria blamed me, but what the hell could I do? I tried everything.
And this was every night?
Most nights. Every weekend. Maria had to get up to go to work every morning, but I could lie in. That was the only quiet time.
And you complained to the family?
I did at first, but then I just gave up.
Why was that?
Because you couldn't talk to them. It was like a slagging match. And I got scared they might take it out on our kids. And they're only toddlers. The eldest one's still in infants. And they've got to go out and play sometime, and I can't be watching them every minute.
Did you ever come to blows with any of the back houses?
There was a bit of pushing and shoving every now and again, but Maria always came in between us and put a stop to it.
And who was doing the pushing and the shoving?
Mainly Ricky, the eldest son.
How did you feel about the gangs of youths who congregated in your street?
I'm sick to death of it. Your house wasn't your own. They just did what they liked, answered to no one.
Was your garden also used as a toilet by the back house children?
Yeah. Couldn't understand it. They've got 2 toilets in that house.
And you complained to Mrs. Backhouse?
Yeah. Well, she said it was dog muck. Well, I've got kids and I've had dogs and I know the difference. Anyway, I cut them at it half the time.
And so it continued?
Everything continued. Nothing ever got better.
Will you tell us about your visit to the housing office?
Well, the staff were okay. And at first, I just thought they'd move us. But the place they sent us to was as bad as the one we're in. You can tell by the street the way it's going to be.
How did you feel during your interviews with the housing office?
I got more and more frustrated. It's really hard trying to explain what you're going through.
Mr. Murray?
My lord, I question the relevance of this. Surely every visit to the housing office is frustrating. You queue, you wait your turn, you explain your needs, knowing in advance that they're hardly likely to be satisfied.
I'm sure that's the point the defense counsel is trying to make, Mr. Murray. I consider it highly relevant to Mr. Lohman's state of mind.
As my lord pleases.
Mr. Lohman, you were telling the court about your interviews at the housing office.
Yeah. You say that the family is noisy, but you can't explain what the noise does to you. It gets inside you. You can't think. You're on the edge the whole time. You're either waiting for it to start or you're waiting for it to stop. And it's not music, it's like a banging in your head.
Yes, go on.
And the dirt, it's not like dog muck. Anyway, you could train a dog. It'd be a nuisance. It'd take you 2 minutes to clear it up. But with this, it's deliberate. It's like they're telling you what they think of you. You're dog muck. You're fit to be urinated on.
Why didn't you accept the offers of the high-rise accommodation?
Because they were both in the same block. And when we went to see them, the lift was out. And our youngest was 2 then, and Maria were pregnant. And we just thought that they had to offer us something better.
But in fact, the offer you received was for number 51, Brydale Way.
Yeah. I couldn't believe it. Maria were at work, and the kids were at nursery. I had the letter, and I just kept rereading it. It was like everyone down at the council were laughing at me. I was desperate.
Well, at least it would have been 10 doors away.
No, it would have made things worse. They would have been down there in 2 minutes. They'd have had a field day.
And that's why you were so upset when you went to see Mrs. McHugh.
Yeah. I didn't know what I was saying. I knew it weren't her fault, but that's been the trouble all along. There's been no one you can turn to.
Who would you try to turn to?
The back houses themselves, the Residents' Association, the local councillor, housing, the police. They were worst at lot.
Would you explain why?
Because you think the police have got some power and they've got none. There's no law that stops people trampling down your garden. If they want to do it, they just do it. And there's no law that makes someone switch off a CD player. All you can do is ask and then get spat at for your trouble. And there's no law that stops people spitting at you.
But there are laws prohibiting trespass and harassment and disorderly conduct. There are laws pertaining to noise pollution, causing an affray, intimidation. Laws govern all these things.
You tell that to the police.
Perhaps you could tell us, in your own words, what happened on the night of Friday, the 18th of July last year.
Yeah. Well, that was the night I gave up. I thought things couldn't get any worse from the letter from the council, but they did. And I didn't phone the police that night, somebody else phoned them.
Several of your neighbours, in fact.
Yeah, so I believe. Well, I sat in house. I couldn't care anymore. It was high summer, and they were going at it again, and I just thought it's going to go on all night. So anyway, when the police turned up, I did go out, because all of us neighbours would speak to each other, and we decided that the best thing to do was to stick together, like solidarity. So I went out to put my bit.
And what happened?
The gangs were running rings around the police. And then someone threw something like some chips, and it hit the floor next to a policeman, and he turned round, and he said to this kid, "What's your name?" And he said, "Mickey Mouse." And the policeman said, "Where do you live?" And he said, "Disneyland." And the policeman laughed. So I went back in my house then. I couldn't take any more of it. I thought, he's not the one who has to live in Disneyland, I am. But it were mine. It were a nightmare, Disneyland, surrounded by all these mad people. Nothing was what I thought it was. Can I have some water, please?
Mr. Lohman, do you really want to carry on? You do. We'll examine what happened the next day and the day after. Did you see much of the Backhouse family?
No, I didn't. They were really quiet that weekend. I think some of them had been away.
But on the Sunday night, the loud music started again.
Yeah, I just tried to get some sleep.
Let's turn to the events of Monday
Can
morning.
I say something?
Mr. Lohman, if you just take things
I never
one
meant
at a
to
time.
hurt anyone. I was in my garden, and they were riding round and round me.
Well, we are trying to establish...
But it was my garden, and they were just doing what they liked.
Mr. Lohman, please, allow your counsel to ask his questions. They provide your chance to explain your actions.
Sorry.
Now, we've heard what happened in the garden, and Adam Swift has proudly admitted trespass and vandalism. He's admitted calling you names and inciting you to violence. We don't need to hear that again.
No.
Mr. Lohman, why did you hit Joseph Backhouse with a spade?
Because they had me cornered. And they were coming in for a kill. And I felt someone shove me. And I was scared. And I turned round and I saw this metal thing coming at me, and I just lashed out with a spade. And I knew I was wrong. I saw it all wrong at the time. I've never hit any of them before. I don't even hit my own kids. And I like Joe. We used to talk about football. He'd give me magazines on football and I'd give him match programmes. He wasn't like the rest of them. when I'd seen what I'd done, oh, God.
My lord, I have no further questions for the defendant.
I think a short break is in order. The court will reconvene in 15 minutes.
Sufficiently recovered, Mr. Lohman.
Yeah.
And I'll get straight to the point. You'd argued with your wife. You'd shouted at the Backhouse children. You'd had a row with Mrs. Camille Backhouse. You'd embroiled yourself in another argument with Adam Swift and his friends. You were in a very bad mood that morning. Now, apart from a bit of pushing and shoving some months previously, none of the Backhouse family had ever laid a finger on you or your wife and children.
I know.
But you were spoiling for a fight. You'd been let down by the housing officer, by the police, by all and sundry, and you were determined to make someone pay.
No, I wasn't.
You started by attacking the bike.
I didn't know it was Joe's bike. I thought it was Adam Swift's. I'd never seen it before.
Well, you knew Adam Swift wasn't going to attack you. He was lying on the ground, in pain from his fall. You knew you were surrounded by children, girls as well as boys. You'd been made a laughingstock and you couldn't take it.
No, I thought they were going to kill me.
Who? Christina Backhouse, age 13, Anthony Backhouse, age 10, little William, age 4. Who was going to kill you?
I made a mistake.
You certainly did. Ladies and gentlemen, the law states that if you are attacked, you may use as much force as is necessary to save yourself from injury, but you may not use more force than that. In an extreme situation, should it become necessary to kill to preserve your own life, then you may kill, if it is reasonable to do so. James Lohman was not in fear of his life, nor in fear of anything that could possibly be construed as real physical danger. He lashed out because people were shouting at him, and he saw, and I quote, "this metal thing coming at me." This metal thing. What was it? A pole? A sword? A guided missile? No. It was a bicycle. He knew it was a bicycle because he'd just been damaging it. Now, my learned friend has been at pains to point out the shortcomings of the Backhouse family. And let's be frank, I wouldn't want to live next door to them. I dare say you wouldn't. They're slovenly, they're noisy, they don't work, and there are a large number of them. But if you agree that the Lohman family has the right to live peaceably and unmolested, then you must in all justice concede that right to the Backhouse family as well. And that means putting up with their dirt and their noise. Joseph Backhouse was an innocent bystander in the events that have been repeatedly described to the court. So why did he end up with such terrible injuries? You know why. Because James Lohman flouted the laws of this land. Laws that were designed, ladies and gentlemen, to save you, me, and Joseph Backhouse from common assault, from grievous bodily harm, from death at the hands of somebody unable to control his temper. Members of the jury, forget the histrionics. Lohman's tear, Sayer's spinster act is all very colourable, but it proves nothing. Ladies and gentlemen, do you wish to live in a world where grown men smash children's skulls with impunity? The evidence proves, beyond doubt, that James Lohman caused grievous bodily harm to Joseph Backhouse. I urge you to convict him of this offence.
There are two victims in this courtroom today. Joseph Backhouse, whose injuries my learned friend has described, and James Lohman, who suffered mental and not physical wounds. Mr. Lohman had been tormented day and night by the Backhouse family's blatant and total disregard for other people. They care for no one. Young families, old ladies, none has rights as far as they're concerned. they've not even respected the jurisdiction of this court. They are tribal by nature and tribal by upbringing. When they moved into Briardale Way, they routed the neighborhood, abused it, and brought it down to their level. It had been a very pleasant place to live, and now everybody just wants to get out. At the time this incident occurred, James Lohman was tired, scared, and despairing. He was confused by noise, by movement, and by fear. He was defending his property and his family as it is his duty to do so. And this case turns on whether he genuinely believed he was about to be hit by an irate youth wielding an offensive weapon. And I put it to you that that is what he did believe. And considering he was surrounded by a gang of baying youths, it was a very good reason that he did believe it. Now, the fact that he was mistaken, beside the point. He defended himself. He did what the law allows him to do. Mr. Lohman is an innocent man. You have no cause but to acquit him of the assault with which he's charged.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, there are three possible verdicts for you to ponder. If after reviewing the evidence you feel that James Lohman acted in self-defense as defined by law when he hit Joseph Backhouse, you must find him not guilty of causing grievous bodily harm. Now, this means that you agree with the defending counsel that Lohman had genuinely believed himself to be in physical danger and had used an acceptable level of force to repel that danger. If, on the other hand, you feel that Lohman did not believe himself to be in physical danger, but hit out for reasons other than self-defense, anger perhaps, or frustration, then you must find him guilty of causing grievous bodily harm. And that is count 2. If that is your considered opinion after reviewing all the evidence, then you must also consider a further question. Did James Lohman hit Joseph Backhouse with the intention of causing severe physical damage? Now, if you reach the conclusion that that was indeed his intention, you must return a verdict of guilty to the more serious charge of causing grievous bodily harm with intent. And that is count 1. Now, whether you would like to live next door to Mr. and Mrs. Lohman or Mr. and Mrs. Backhouse is of no consequence. Opinion, likes or dislikes must have no bearing on the verdict you arrive at. The case rests on the facts that have been presented to you. You are the sole judges of those facts.
I don't understand how a person can hit someone with a shovel.
He's not gone for the boy. What's happened is he's been surrounded by, well, I'd call them hoodlums, but he called them angry teenagers. And the thing is, if he's going to swing a spade, to me, it's like a warding off.
Your opinion?
Well, you could have considered if he snapped. That's the word.
He absolutely snapped. Having said that, there's no cause to do what he did at all, no matter what. I mean, he could have killed him.
He can't get away with hitting that boy with a shovel, right?
Yes.
So he's got to be guilty of GBH, hasn't he?
No. Well, no.
Joe suffered the physical side, and Jim has suffered the emotional side,
the mental side,
for so many years.
Yeah. So he didn't look like crocodile tears to me.
No, he didn't. I mean, he realised. He said he was sorry. He's actually done something.
To show remorse.
When you contrast it with Swifty saying, "Yeah, I did it."
The Backhouses just want revenge, as far as I
Your family haven't been sorry for what they've done.
Joe's family, I don't want to label them. They've been labelled all their lives. They've been stereotyped, being unemployed, being on benefits.
You judge a case on the evidence. You take the body language and everything, and they showed the label that they've been given. They proved it.
Yeah, because
we saw
over
that.
the years,
We've seen it with our own eyes.
It rests on that one point, self-defence.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
And self-defence is, if he considers it his duty to protect his house and his children, then it becomes self-defence. If you think it's just the anger because of all that's gone before,
in that situation.
it's still illegal.
Will the foreman of the jury please stand? Have you reached a verdict on both counts, on which at least 10 of you agree?
Yes.
Do you find the defendant, James Lohman, guilty or not guilty on count 1 of causing grievous bodily harm with intent?
Not guilty.
Do you find the defendant, James Lohman, guilty or not guilty on count 2 of causing grievous bodily harm?
Not guilty.
Order!
Following up some very unofficial lines of inquiry next tonight on ITV3, Linda LaPlante's gripping thriller Framed continues in just a moment.